Do you hate having visitors? That tight feeling in your chest when the doorbell rings. And instead of excitement, there's a quiet voice inside you saying, "I wish they'd just go away." Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, would tell you this reaction is not just a quirk of personality, not simply introversion. It's a message from your unconscious, because each time someone steps into your home, they aren't just crossing your hallway. They're crossing the invisible threshold of your soul. They bring with them their moods, their unresolved tensions, their shadow. And whether you realize it or not, part of you feels invaded. That's why for some people, even a well-meaning visit can feel like a storm in a sacred space. It's not rudeness, it's not a flaw in your character, it's your psyche trying to protect its most vulnerable core. And in this journey together, we'll uncover 6 truths from Carl Jung that explain why you may feel this way, and why, far from being a weakness, it could be a sign of something rare and deeply valuable unfolding inside you. For Jung, the way you respond to visitors is not about manners. It's about the direction of your psychic energy. The extroverted type draws strength from contact with others. Their energy flows outward. They thrive on conversation, shared spaces, and constant interaction. The introverted type, on the other hand, recharges from within. Their energy flows inward, toward reflection, inner images, and the slow restoration that comes from silence. This isn't a conscious choice. It's a deep disposition of the soul, as unchangeable as the rhythm of your heartbeat. When an introverted psyche is exposed to too much external stimulation, long conversations, unexpected arrivals, noise, or even subtle social pressure, the mind begins to shut down, not out of arrogance, but out of self-preservation. Your home becomes more than walls and furniture. It becomes a living symbol of your inner order, the place where your fragmented energy gathers to become whole again. When someone crosses that boundary, even with kindness, they disturb a process you may have been tending to all day without realizing it. And here is where the real strain begins. The moment another person enters your space, you unconsciously put on your persona. This is the mask we all wear to navigate society. Polite, attentive, measured. It is not false, but it is limited, and holding it in place costs energy. In your own home, this mask can feel heavier than anywhere else, because it forces you to step away from your true self inside the one place you should feel free to drop every act. Some people live so identified with their persona that they forget what it's like to simply exist without performing. For an introvert or a highly sensitive person, this identification is exhausting. It's not that you dislike others, it's that your nervous system is tuned to pick up on every tone of voice, every shift in the air, every unspoken tension. Even a pleasant visit leaves behind an invisible residue you must clear before you can feel whole again. Jung also warned that such encounters can stir the shadow, the parts of yourself you have pushed away, ignored, or disowned. Sometimes a visitor's presence, their casual remark, or even the way they occupy space, brushes against one of these hidden places. You feel an unease you cannot name, because it's not about the person, it's about what they unknowingly awaken in you. This is why a simple social moment can feel like an invasion. Your unconscious is defending its boundaries. And before we dive into Jung's insights, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comment on the video. And yet, Jung also saw the shadow as more than darkness. It is a container of hidden strengths, neglected desires, and creative impulses. By noticing your discomfort and respecting your need for space, you may be answering a call to explore what lies beneath the surface. In this way, the resistance you feel is not a defect to be fixed, but an inner compass pointing you toward your own unfinished depths. When you choose solitude over constant hosting, you are not cutting yourself off from life. You are giving life back to yourself. You are stepping away from the noise long enough to hear the quiet truths that cannot speak in crowded rooms. You are allowing your psyche to breathe, and in that breath, your soul reorganizes itself. In Jungian psychology, the home is never just a physical structure. It is one of the most potent symbols of the psyche itself, a mirror of your inner life. Every room reflects a different aspect of who you are. The bedroom as your intimacy, the kitchen as your emotional nourishment, the attic as your higher thoughts, the basement as your unconscious. The front door, in this symbolic map, is not merely a hinge and a lock. It is the sacred threshold between you and the world. When someone crosses that threshold, they do not just step into your living room, they bring the entire weight of their own inner world with them. Their stories, unresolved tensions, silent worries. For a sensitive or introverted soul, this influx of foreign energy is not neutral. It rearranges the psychic atmosphere. You may not consciously register it, but your unconscious feels it immediately, and the quiet order you've cultivated begins to shift. This is why some visits feel heavier than others. It's not about the topic of conversation or the length of the stay. It's about the subtle, invisible exchange of psychic material. Just as some people leave a room feeling warmer and brighter, others leave behind a heaviness, a pressure in the air. And if your home is your sanctuary, your place of restoration, such disturbances are felt with twice the intensity. Jung would say that respecting this sensitivity is not an act of selfishness, but of individuation, the process of becoming your true self. If you ignore the signals and force yourself to accommodate, you may momentarily appease social expectations, but you lose touch with your own center. Over time, this erodes your authenticity and depletes your vitality. To honor your home as a symbol of the self is to guard its atmosphere as you would guard your own breath. It means understanding that closing the door is not rejection, it is preservation. It is saying to yourself, this space is where I meet me, and that meeting is sacred. And in a world that demands constant openness and availability, the courage to protect that meeting is rare. Jung called the persona the mask we wear to meet the demands of the outside world. It is not a lie. It is the functional, socially acceptable face we present to others so that we can live and work together. Without it, daily life would be chaotic. But the persona is never the whole of who we are. It is a fragment, often polished and edited to fit the expectations around us. In public spaces, wearing this mask may feel natural, even necessary. But when you are forced to put on your persona inside your own home, the cost is much higher. The home is meant to be the place where you set the mask down, where you can walk barefoot in silence, stare out the window without performing, breathe without measuring your words. When visitors enter, that freedom narrows. Suddenly, you are monitoring your expressions, filtering your speech, maintaining a performance that drains your psychic energy with every passing minute. For sensitive and introverted personalities, this is more than mild inconvenience. It is a form of slow depletion. Each polite smile that doesn't match your true mood, each gesture offered without the energy to back it, is a small act of self-abandonment. You keep pace with the social script, but internally, you feel yourself stepping further away from your own center. And when the door finally closes behind the guest, you're left with the quiet fatigue of someone who has been wearing armor in their own sanctuary. This is why Jung warned that over-identifying with a persona can suffocate the true self. When the mask becomes too permanent, the soul begins to protest, sometimes with subtle signals, irritability, restlessness, and inexplicable longing for solitude. Ignoring these signals in the name of politeness is not kindness. It's the slow erosion of authenticity. And each time you push through against your inner will, the exhaustion deepens. To reclaim your energy, you must reclaim the right to be unmasked in your own space. That might mean shortening visits, limiting them, or sometimes not opening the door at all. It's not hostility, it's hygiene. Just as you would protect your body from physical harm, you protect your psyche from unnecessary strain. In Jung's view, this is not weakness. It is the foundation for true psychological health. In Jungian psychology, the pull towards solitude is not always a symptom of isolation. It can be a sign of something sacred taking shape. Jung saw this impulse as part of the path of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning, social roles, and inherited expectations. This journey rarely happens in noise. It requires silence, inward focus, and a deliberate turning away from distractions that scatter the mind. The hermit archetype embodies this stage of life. Picture an old figure walking alone along a quiet path, holding a lantern to light the way. He is not fleeing the world. He is seeking its deeper meaning. The light he carries is not found in crowded rooms or endless conversation. It is born in stillness, in the long, uninterrupted moments where one can finally hear the voice within. When you feel an almost physical resistance to hosting visitors, it may be this inner hermit calling, asking you to guard your time and energy for the work of the soul. Far from being antisocial, the hermit's withdrawal is an act of preparation. By closing the door to constant external demands, you open the door to deeper self-knowledge. In this quiet space, patterns emerge. Memories once buried begin to speak. Your shadow, the hidden parts of yourself, steps forward, not to harm you, but to be acknowledged and integrated. Jung believed that until these aspects are brought into the light, they will continue to direct your life from the dark. In this way, declining a visit can be an act of deep self-respect. You are not rejecting the person. You are honoring the dialogue between your conscious self and your unconscious. You are protecting the conditions in which your own light can grow steady enough to one day shine into the world. The hermit knows that if you skip this stage, if you try to offer light before you have found it, what you give will burn out quickly, leaving you drained and resentful. By answering this inner call for solitude, you are resisting a culture that glorifies constant connection while quietly neglecting the need for inner renewal. And in that resistance, you plant the seeds of a presence that will be far more grounded, authentic, and whole than anything that could be sustained by endless social obligation. Jung never advocated for absolute isolation. For him, a healthy life requires a conscious dialogue between the inner world and the outer world. Withdrawal protects the integrity of the soul, but the right kind of human exchange, in the right measure, can also nourish and expand who you are. The problem isn't in connecting, but in connecting automatically, without considering whether you're ready or whether the interaction will truly add something to your life. Finding that balance begins with recognizing your internal signals. Fatigue, irritability, difficulty concentrating, or a vague emotional heaviness are signs that your psychic system needs silence. In those moments, forcing yourself to be available for visitors is like asking a feverish body to run a marathon. The need for recovery comes first, and just as caring for physical health is an act of responsibility, caring for emotional health is a commitment to your own life. This also involves choosing your connections carefully. Some people respect your need for space, others don't. Some visits leave your home lighter, others heavier. Learning to say yes only when you feel you can be truly present is the key to preserving your energy without completely shutting yourself off from the world. As Jung reminded us, individuation is becoming true to yourself, even when the world demands otherwise. And there's a quiet benefit to this practice. When you meet others from a place of wholeness, the contact is deeper and more meaningful. You're not there out of obligation, but by choice. You're not offering crumbs of attention while your inner self begs for rest. You're offering full presence, free of masks. In that state, even brief encounters can be nourishing for both. Balance is not static. There will be seasons when solitude takes priority, and others when connection has more room. The art lies in listening to yourself enough to adjust the movement between inside and out, without guilt, without forcing, without betraying yourself. This is the kind of freedom that only emerges when you learn to honor your own rhythm. In Jungian terms, creating a sacred space is not just about rearranging furniture or lighting candles. It is about establishing a psychological sanctuary. It is a place where your inner and outer worlds align, where the atmosphere supports your deepest needs for rest, reflection, and renewal. This space becomes a visible reminder that your well-being matters and that your boundaries are worth honoring. Your sacred space might be a quiet corner of your home, a chair by the window, a desk where you write, or even a ritual like making tea in silence. What matters is the intention behind it. When you step into this space, you are stepping into a contract with yourself. Here, I am free to be unmasked. Here, I do not have to perform. Here, I return to myself. In Jung's view, such intentional withdrawal is not selfishness, it is soul maintenance. Guarding this space means protecting it from intrusion, both external and internal. That might involve kindly but firmly declining visits when you're not ready, turning off notifications, or letting unfinished tasks wait. It also means noticing the mental clutter you bring with you, the inner commentary, the self-criticism, the guilt, and leaving it at the threshold. Over time, your sacred space becomes charged with a kind of inner stillness, and just being there signals to your nervous system that it's safe to let go. By cultivating and defending this sanctuary, you give yourself a reliable refuge in a world that is constantly demanding your attention. And in that refuge, your mind, body, and spirit can align again, so that when you do step back into the world, you carry a centered presence rather than a depleted one. Jung believed that such spaces, whether physical or symbolic, are vital to individuation because they keep you rooted in your own truth, even when the noise outside grows louder. For many people, the desire for solitude comes with an unwelcome companion, guilt. We live in a culture that rewards visibility, sociability, and constant accessibility. Saying no to a visit can feel like breaking some unspoken social contract. You might hear that inner voice whisper, "You're being rude. You're pushing people away. Something must be wrong with you." But Jung would tell you, that voice is not the truth. It is the echo of conditioning, not the wisdom of your soul. When you begin to see your need for solitude as a strength rather than a flaw, everything changes. You realize that the time you spend alone is not a withdrawal from life, but an investment in it. You are tending to the inner garden that sustains you. And when that garden is flourishing, you can show up in the world with more clarity, depth, and authenticity than if you had forced yourself to be on all the time. This shift also changes the way you carry yourself. Instead of apologizing for your boundaries, you stand in them. Instead of offering half-hearted presence, you offer full-hearted moments, because you have first given that presence to yourself. This is the quiet power that grows in solitude, the confidence that your worth is not measured by how much of yourself you give away, but by how fully you inhabit the life you are living. And here lies the paradox Jung understood so well. When you stop chasing connection out of fear of being alone, the connections you do have become more genuine, more nourishing. You no longer gather people around you to fill an emptiness. You meet them as a whole person, and in that wholeness, you invite relationships that honor both your space and your soul. Jung saw solitude not as a passive state, but as an active process, a laboratory of the soul. In the stillness, you can observe the movements of your own mind without the constant interference of external noise. Patterns become visible. The voices of the past, the subtle desires of the present, and the quiet visions for the future all begin to emerge. In this way, solitude becomes a mirror, one that reflects both your shadows and your light. This is the wisdom of solitude. It teaches you to live with yourself, to listen without rushing to respond, to notice without immediately needing to act. In a world addicted to speed and noise, that kind of listening is radical. It dismantles the compulsion to seek approval, because in the quiet, you begin to recognize a deeper source of validation, one that comes from within. And when you stand rooted in that, the judgments of others lose their power. Solitude also strengthens discernment. You learn which invitations feel like genuine opportunities for connection, and which feel like obligations that will drain you. You begin to recognize the subtle difference between loneliness, which contracts the spirit, and aloneness, which expands it. Jung believed that this distinction is crucial for individuation. Until you can be at peace in your own company, you cannot truly meet others as equals. And perhaps most importantly, solitude prepares you for re-entry into the world. It doesn't trap you in isolation. It equips you with a grounded presence. When you emerge from that inner space, you do so with the clarity to offer something real, not a performance, not a mask, but yourself. And that gift is felt immediately by the people who meet you. They may not know why, but they feel the difference. The truth is, your soul already knows what it needs. The real work is giving yourself permission to follow it. You don't need to justify the door you keep closed, the silence you choose, or the moments you protect from intrusion. Jung taught that individuation, becoming fully yourself, often means making peace with the fact that not everyone will understand your path. And that's okay. Your life is not meant to be a performance for others. It is meant to be a home for your true self. So the next time you feel that instinctive resistance to a visit, pause before judging yourself. Ask instead, what is my soul asking for right now? If the answer is rest, solitude, or stillness, honor it. That choice is not isolation. It is alignment. And from that alignment, every connection you choose will be richer, more honest, and more alive. And hey, if you've been feeling stuck in emotional loops, struggling with inner conflict, or sensing there's a part of you you've never fully understood, you're not alone in that. This guide we've put together dives deep into exactly that. It'll help you understand why certain patterns keep repeating, face the hidden parts of yourself you've been avoiding, begin real emotional healing and self-integration, reconnect with your true, undiluted self. If any of that speaks to something you've been quietly carrying, check the first pinned comment under this video. It might be exactly what your soul has been needing. No pressure, no rush, just when you're ready. And if you want to take this journey one step further, the video on your screen right now. When you stop pleasing others, everything changes. We'll show you how letting go of the need for approval can transform not only your relationships, but the way you feel in your own skin. Watch that next. It might be the missing piece you've been looking for.